И всем привет, зрители, подписчики моего канала, с вами снова Емстес, и сегодня будем накрываться. Продолжать играть в игру под названием Synchronicity. А остановились мы на том, что мы добыли вот такой вот ключик. Давай быстрее эту хрень проходи. Да, знаю, да, все мутирует. Мы достали вот такой вот браслет крота. Кроту он все равно не нужен. Ага, конечно.
Do you need to get a closer look at what I have on my wrist?
Wait a minute. Look, he's got on one of those ID bracelets the camp moles wear. Those cockroaches are very useful to us in here. Lower your gun and let him leave.
You heard him. Get out of here, rat.
Вот так-то. Так, ты браслетик не заберешь ведь, да, у меня? Черт, я опять вышел туда. Ладно, давайте далеко отходить не будем. Сначала посмотрим. Что у нас тут? Так, вода.
I suppose the rain has been flooding the pit little by little. This water is so dark you can't even see the bottom.
Так, тесаные камни.
I can't reach it from here. Maybe I should find a way to get to the bottom of this enormous hole first.
Ага, это взять можно. Значит, нам нужно сюда спуститься как-то.
This hole in the ground is steep walls of mud and earth. The distance to the bottom is several yards. How the hell was this cesspit formed?
Не знаю, как образовался.
It's the charred remains of a tree trunk, fighting to keep from being devoured by the enormous hole in the ground. For the moment, it's holding its own. It seems firmly rooted in the soil.
И то верно. Так, а что у нас с другой стороне?
Impossible. It's beyond my reach. The bars are keeping me from getting there.
Черт. Что-то взять можно?
In the distance, the other end of this tunnel fades out of sight among the shadows. Where does it lead? Thick bars at the end of the pipe block the opening to the outside. Extremely hard and solid, I'm afraid.
Окей, ничего интересного опять. Ну, хотя есть интересное, но полезного для прохождения дальше нет.
It welcomes me with its most merciless and bitter grimace. What I see before my eyes is not what I expected. Doomsday made it here, too. Even if no one in the refugee camp knows it yet. Damn it. The city looks as bruised and battered by the catastrophe as the rest of us.
Пипец. Это как будто, знаете, какая-то бомба на Хиросиму и Нагасаки. Так, вот, есть уже с кем поговорить. Но тут, мне кажется, дела обстоят не лучше.
A few buildings are still standing, but most of them are propped up or about to fall down, with a handful of city dwellers in the street that look like automatons or sleepwalkers. But there's no doubt about it. I'm on the 5th Avenue, Doomsday City.
Давайте сначала все осмотрим, а потом будем уже. Так, две тени. По ходу дела они или с дубинками, или с оружием. Скорее всего, оружием, потому что он какой-то приклад есть.
It's the silhouette of the soldiers guarding the street from around the corner. It seems like those uniformed psychopaths' rifles are projected onto each and every corner of the city.
Да. Ой. Ночь снимаем. Так, что это? Взяли плакат. Зачем нам плакат? Стена с плакатами.
Dozens of posters, all shredded, charred or half torn off. This wall must have been used for advertising before the Great Wave.
У меня вот один вопрос. Зачем нам плакат? Так. Подвальное окно.
A dirty window at ground level for ventilation. It's the only opening this building's basement has to the outside.
Окей.
What the hell is that old man trying to do with that enormous pair of bolt cutters? Can hardly get his hands around it.
Help me, please. Help me. Don't let them find me in the street after curfew. They'll take me to the refugee camp. Help me, please. don't make any noise. There's a patrol just round the corner.
Конечно. Я тебе сейчас возьму, да открою. Так, ну что вы хотите от меня?
But what is it you need me to do?
It's almost curfew. I need a place to sleep. I need a place to hide, or they'll send me to the refugee camp. Don't you understand?
Что за комендантский час?
What is all this about a curfew?
At curfew, the soldiers want the streets cleared. And the way they see it, if you're out on the street after curfew, it means that you've got nowhere to go. You don't have a home. You don't belong here. And that makes you a rat. And so they take you to the refugee camp. I can't go to the camp. Understand? I can't go there.
Вам нужна крыша над головой, и вам некуда идти.
You need a
Ну,
roof
это
over
вопрос
your
был.
head, and you don't have anywhere to go.
I used
Не
to,
так выразился.
but it doesn't exist anymore. I owned an apartment a few blocks from here. The block was badly damaged by the Great Wave, but it was still standing.
And what happened to your home?
This morning we had to evacuate the area in a hurry. We ran out in the streets with whatever we had on. Apparently, the foundation was starting to crumble. And a few hours later, all that was left of my home was a pile of smoking rubble, with 40 years of memories buried beneath it. But I can't let them take me to the camp. I need to get into another house before the curfew.
Да найдем.
Help me.
Давай, кусачки.
Okay, give me those bolt cutters. I'll see what I can do.
This house is empty, but the army has sealed it off. If I can just get this padlock off before curfew, I'll be safe. I need to get in here. But please, don't make
Да
too much
окей, окей.
noise. If the soldiers find us, they won't hesitate to kill us.
И?
Impossible.
Ты чё, лох, что ли, а?
I can't do anything with
Как?
this.
Как такими кусачками можно было не расхерачить его?
I need to get in.
Я не понимаю, как? Как? Блин, был бы я на его месте, я даже сам бы вот взял, да перекусил бы.
I'm looking for a place. Something like a pharmaceutical warehouse. Would you know anything about that?
I don't really know.
Эти кусачки и созданы, чтобы ими
Small medical center just
такие вот
outside the
прутья
city limits.
жрать.
I suppose you mean that, right? They built it in a hurry, just knocked it together after the Great Wave. No one really knows what it's for, but there are vehicles going in and out of the place all the time. Whatever they're doing in there, they're keeping it very secret. Not even my daughter would tell me what goes on inside.
Did you say your daughter?
Yes, my daughter, my little Uma. She works there as a nurse. I'm afraid she left me. I suppose she got tired of living with a frail, sick old man like me. Because one day she simply left the house, and I haven't seen her since. It's been months now. I think she was right to leave me. These times are hard enough. You don't want to burn yourself with someone like me.
I'm sorry. I can't help you.
Help me, please.
Мне кажется, нам нужно вам все равно помочь как-нибудь, да. Так, у нас есть горожане. Светофор. Ой, спать хочу. Время уже поздно.
It looks like this heating technology is not limited to the
Час
refugee
ночи.
camp. These bonfires are used here too, and their emissions are just as toxic here as they are there. What the hell could they be burning in them?
Окей, побазарим.
Hello, friend. You look lost. Come over by the fire.
It's dying down, but maybe it'll last until curfew.
As long as those uniformed psychopaths don't decide to end our little get-together first, of course.
Hey, look! One of those magic bracelets from the camp. They say that place is a real hellhole. A kind of living death. So, you've come back from the dead. Do they call you Lazarus?
Well, you could put it that way.
А вы что-то говорили о комендантском часе. Когда именно он начинается?
You were saying something about a curfew.
Well, it depends on the mood of the soldiers in this zone. But you know it's time to go home when they start taking their guns out of their holsters.
Today they're extremely jumpy. I don't think it'll be long before they start insulting people and hitting them with their rifle butts.
You guys are awfully hard on them. It's just their crude way of showing us affection.
Oh, shut up. In any case, you don't have to worry. That bracelet means you don't have to hide from them.
Юморист,
No,
блин.
that's one of the privileges that comes with it.
And you? Do you people have to hide?
We try to stay out of their way. The first rule is be home before curfew. Anyone who isn't gets dragged off to refugee camp. That's one of the strictest laws the Great Wave imposed upon this city.
Вы знаете обстановку в других местах? Доходят ли новости извне?
And do you know how things are elsewhere? Do you get news from outside?
I'm afraid not. With no communications or transportation, and with the army on every corner, we are totally cut off.
Who cares anyway? When you don't know from one day to the next if you're going to be alive, there's no time to worry about what happens 100, 1,000, or 100,000 miles away.
I understand.
Почему вы боитесь, солдат? Я слышу, жизнь здесь более-менее наладилась.
Why are you afraid of the soldiers?
Да что-то не видно, что она здесь наладилась, Майкл.
I don't know where you heard that, friend, but whoever told you that was lying. Here,
Люди также
things are
стоят
very
около
ugly and
бочек
getting uglier every day.
с
Everything's
огнем.
in short supply, water, food, medicine.
We have a surplus of just
Жрачки
two
нет.
things.
Тут даже еще хуже, здесь
Misery
еще
and
военные.
violence. Life is
Хотя там
cheap
тоже были
and
военные.
getting cheaper all the time, especially since the army took
Но
over.
все же.
The army. I see. And what happened to the other authorities? The politicians? The laws?
Those are distant memories from the old world, my dear. Get them out of your head, because all that collapsed like a house of cards. Since the Great Wave, no one's got any plan, strategy. We're all adrift.
He's right. The most reliable thing we have left is what you see around the corner. Armed teenagers in uniform on the streets, on the rooftops, just as scared as we are, or more, and shooting anything that moves.
I think our common destiny is to finally die of starvation, of disease, or boredom. I don't know which of the three options I find the most cruel. Who knows? Maybe the most sensible thing is to organize a group excursion and break into Suicide Park.
Че?
Suicide Park. Don't call it that. It's not funny. That name's as stupid as that hospital they built in such a hurry next to it. It's crazy. The entire city is starving and sick, and the soldiers keep those medical facilities locked up like Fort Knox.
Ну, в чем смысл медпунктов, если их нельзя использовать?
But what good is it having medical facilities if no one can use them? I don't understand.
No one does, friend, but that's the way it is. I don't know why anyone would want to go into that building, but I can assure you that they're not going to get treated for anything in there, not even for a miserable cold.
Besides, it's a real fortress. The person will be more likely to come out sick from an overdose of gunpowder and lead. You know how it is, dear. There's no cure for
Юморист,
love or
блин,
death.
а?
Hey, I like that last phrase. It would make a good opening line for a story.
Oh, will you shut up for once, Ramon? Don't pay any attention to him. In the old world, he earned his living writing stories, and he
Ну это
still
все
thinks
объясняет,
that all
конечно.
that waste paper might someday be useful after the Great Wave.
And in fact, it is. A good deal of that scrap paper is fueling this bonfire right now, dear. So I can consider my literary career to have been worthwhile.
Вы сказали парк самоубийц в лагере, я про него не слышал.
Did you say Suicide Park? Someone in the camp told me about that place.
And the first dark stars come out to hang from the sky. We could sit and count them together, you and I.
When the sun departs from Suicide Park. Yes, I recognize the song. But what the hell is it? Is there really a place with that name?
Yes, it exists. After the Great Wave, and when things were starting to get really ugly here, the weakest among us eased their suffering with a bullet, by overdosing, or by jumping from high places. You know how it is. All those dark stars had a hard time finding a reason to go on living.
There was a terrible wave of suicides, and there still is.
The problem is at some point a problem arose. How should I put it? A serious logistical problem. Access to drugs and firearms became practically impossible. So the easiest thing was to grab a rope or a belt and go to Suicide Park after dark.
There was a time when it was hard to find a free branch anywhere in the park.
The suicides in the area multiplied at such a rate that the army closed down the park. They said for public health reasons.
For months, the only thing blooming in that park were the corpses of the hanged. The place became more like a theme park. Lots of fun for everyone.
I told you not to make jokes about that. Don't you have any respect for anything?
Of course not. That was one of the many things I lost in the Great Wave. And one of the things I missed the least, believe me.
Thanks for the chat.
Thanks for the company, friend.
Окей, спасибо. Так. Храм какой-то, храм. Развалин храма.
Send us a sign, Lord. We need a sign from
Что за
you.
наркомания?
Hey, wait a minute. I know that voice.
Are we guilty of arousing your rage? Did we do it? Speak with your tongue of fire, Lord. Purge us with unrelenting justice. Send us a sign. Is this our doing? Are you punishing us for our arrogance? Unleash your thunderous voice, Lord. Release us from this intolerable uncertainty. Did we do it? Send us a sign.
I'm getting a strong impression that man's a fanatic and a little bit deranged. But his sermon made me curious. What could he mean by, we did it?
Did we do it? Are we the guilty ones?
Да сам ты виноват, я ни в чем не виноват. Я просто появился тут.
The remains of the stained glass window that went with the intact one on the other side of the door of the church. The great wave must have shattered it. In fact, there are still a few glass shards scattered on the floor.
Так, осколки стекла взять можно. Что мне с голосом? Он охрип.
A few parishioners listened to the words of the preacher, mesmerized, although I'm sure that, like me, they can't decipher the meaning of his mystical rants either.
Так, нет, я с них не хочу разговаривать, он какой-то дебил.
This enormous stone cross casts a giant shadow across the aisle of the church. Perhaps that wasn't the
Помешанный
original
какой-то.
intention, but the result is pretty gloomy and menacing. Considering the condition of the rest of the church, it's amazing that the stained glass window is still in place and practically intact. Such little light that gets in from the street gives it a ghostly appearance.
Скульптуру взять можно? Ты что, серьезно? Ну, там просто был значок поднять.
The catastrophe caused a lot of damage to the statue's pedestal. The fact that the statue is still standing is a miracle.
Окей.
The catastrophe
Окей,
caused
это
a
я
lot of
уже брал,
witnesses.
да?
This column fragment must have fallen off one of the walls during the catastrophe. Now it's keeping the pedestal of the statue company.
Так. Ладно, пошли разговаривать с этим
I'm not going to
дебилом.
interrupt him in the middle of his sermon. That would be rude. I'm not going to interrupt him in the middle of his
Ah.
sermon. That would be rude.
Окей. Тогда нам нужно погулять, значит.
The ruins of the temple, the lion above the flames. We still have time.
Если говорят гулять, значит, наверное, гулять. Так.
Let's see. I can try to rip it off. Nothing. I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to get it off with my hands.
Зачем тебе он нужен вообще, в принципе?
What was formerly the entrance to a subway stop is now a bunker reinforced with bricks and cement. A moldy sign says, "Subway service suspended until further notice." I imagine the train tunnels were flooded or ruined after the Great Wave.
Ну, это можно взять. Видите, опять тоже ручка это. Так, туда мы можем пройти. Медцентр. Давай посмотрим.
This fence protects the compound on all four sides. As impenetrable
Нам же
and
нужно
menacing as
лекарство.
the wall around the refugee camp. It
Нужно.
seems like barbed wire barricades are the only architecture possible in this new world. It's rather disconcerting to see such a small building surrounded by such extreme security measures. Could this be the medical center people have been telling me about?
Окей.
This entrance is reserved for authorized motor vehicles only. Get away from it. Move on.
What the hell?
Это жесть.
Those savages don't get around. I'd better avoid getting too close to that area, at least on foot.
Люк.
So, let's see. Impossible. It's not that it's super heavy. It's that there's hardly any place to insert your fingers to lift this manhole cover.
Окей. Влажная почва.
Strange. The soil here seems darker and less packed than the soil around it. In fact, the mud in this part of the ground is a bit damp and mushy. My fingers even leave marks in it when I touch it.
Дощечка. Окей.
A bucolic fountain covered with ivy and moss. The park's desolation gives it an air of mystery from this side of the fence. In its day, it must have been home to a school of goldfish, which I suppose are now gradually decomposing inside it.
Тухлая рыба.
You can smell these dead creatures from several yards away. I have no intention of picking up those rotten fish with my hands, to say nothing of putting them in my pocket.
Хорошо, хорошо.
The park is closed down, and the front gate is locked shut. If I want to get in there, it won't be through the gate. Judging from its girth, this giant must have lived for hundreds of years before someone got the bright idea of cutting it down. Now the stump is guarding the entrance to the park.
Окей, ничего путного нету опять у нас, да? Скорее всего, у нас сейчас появится реплика с этими горожанами, потому что в нас там стреляли, типа ему уже есть что обсудить.
Can I ask you a few questions?
Sure. Can't you see the...
Че ты занят там?
What goes on inside that church? Has everyone gone completely crazy?
Are you referring to the pastor and his flock? Oh, don't pay too much attention to them. Reverend Blake is a good man. He helped a lot of people after the Great Wave. But he gradually started to lose his mind until he reached the state he's in now.
Well, I stopped by once or twice to listen to him preach. The days are long. You have to find something to do. I try to go at this time of day. There are fewer people because it's almost curfew time. The Reverend seems obsessed with that atmospheric phenomenon in the sky and with religious themes of guilt and repentance. Although I think he's actually just talking about himself. But the most surprising thing about all this is that he has hundreds of followers. And he's attracting more and more all the time from all over the city. And they even let him into the refugee camp once in a while to preach there. People adore him.
Why does that surprise you? We've been following sane leaders since time began. And look where that got us. Maybe it's time to start following the crazier ones.
Well, that's the most sensible thing I've heard you say all day.
Атмосферный феномен? Вы говорите об этой щели в небе? В лагере никто не знает, что это такое.
Atmospheric phenomenon.
On this side of the fence, the authorities have come up with their own scientific term. Atypical controlled turbulence in the upper ionosphere. Though I suppose that's just a fancy way of telling us that they have no idea what the hell it was that split the sky in two after the Great Wave.
It makes my blood run cold when that aberration starts to grind out that noise like a piece of rusty machinery.
I wish those scrambled little clouds up there were the worst of our problems, dear.
Oh, shut up.
Что-то говорили о комендантском часе, когда война он заканчивается.
You were saying something about a curfew. What time does it start exactly?
Well, it depends on the mood.
Так, это мы уже читали.
Oh, in it, you know.
And you?
We tried the first anyone. That's one of
Все, я понял. Все, это уже все было. Окей. Ладно, пойдем. Может там преподобный Блэк или как его там.
Illuminate us with
I'm
your
not gonna interrupt
fiery
him.
voice, Lord. Send us a sign.
Не знаю. Вот это, скорее всего, прошлое.
Here comes that sensation again. It's like floating in a dense liquid, while everything around me is transformed.
Good God.
Illuminate us
think I'm
with your
starting to lose my
fiery
mind.
voice, Lord. Send us a sign.
что у нас есть?
Tomorrow comes today. There's something about the composition that's strangely familiar to me. Some memory related to my former life, perhaps? Or maybe it's just a memory glitch caused by the Great Wave.
Угу. Так.
They come from one of the church's broken stained glass windows. They're pretty and eye-catching, and have a nice variety of colors. A piece of wood with a handwritten sign. Closed for public health reasons. Judging from the handwriting and the spelling mistake, I assume the author of the message was one of those animals in uniform. The nails that held up the sign announcing the closure of Suicide Park. They're incredibly rusty. But considering the epidemic of the dissolve, tetanus is the least of my worries at the moment.
Я, если честно, не знаю, что мне сейчас делать. Вообще не знаю, что мне делать. К этому не подойти, к тому не подойти. Пошли тогда попробуем, не знаю, как-нибудь отковырять люк. Туда можно пройти. Гвоздями, может, подковырнешь. Окей. Стёп. Нет, это плохая идея. И чё? Ты чё, всё сделаешь сейчас? Что? Это был просто тык, не знаю, немыслимый. Нам нужны больше осколки, он сам сказал. Ну-ка, надписью можешь? А чем тебе она не нравится? Окей. Блин, я опять эскейп нажимаю. Скорее всего, нам нужно самим разбить витраж. Давай как-нибудь надписью, что ли, кинем. О! Нормально. Так, и что делать надо? Рычаг.
Waiting, Lord. Did we do it? Illuminate us. Send us a sign with your just and vengeful arm. Is this our fault? Listen! It's the fiery breath of God. The Lord has sent us his sign. And I was right.
Что же это за хрень-то такая?
We did it. And we have aroused his fury.
But what the hell's going on here?
Look, that's the sign. Forgive us, Lord. Forgive us. Repent, all ye sinners.
It's the atmospheric phenomenon I've been hearing so much about. That infernal sound coming from the crack in the sky. It's terrifying.
That is the sign. We did it. Forgive us, Lord. Forgive us. My children, God has spoken to us with his darkest voice. Haven't you heard him? But there's still time. All is not lost. We still have time. Salvation lies in the place where it all began, in the ruins, at the source. We must return to the ruins of the temple. We must return. We must.
Вы знаете, мне вообще просто везет сегодня на вот эти вот всякие штучки, которые я просто случайно нажимаю иногда. Я просто начинаю тыкать любой предмет на, ну как бы, на другой предмет. И жду взаимодействия.
He has finally spoken to all of us. With his thunderous voice, he has revealed the unknown. We did it. It's all our fault.
Успокоился.
We did it. But there's still time. All is not lost. There's still time to avoid it.
Присел хоть.
The head of the lion above the flames holds the key to everything.
Ну чем же мы... Так, ну что же мы сделали?
But what is it?
Time is the will of God. It is his heart and his hammer. The centuries and the ages belong solely to him. The celestial empire is a divine clock. Time rotates around God. Its hands are his angels and archangels. Now I see it all clearly. How could we have been so stupid? Our arrogance had enraged him. That's what we did.
This man is definitely
Я с
crazy.
тобой согласен, Майкл.
Nothing he says makes any
С
sense.
тобой
I
полностью
beg
согласен.
you, leave my brother in peace. He's very upset.
We did what? I'm sorry, but I didn't understand a word you just said.
We sullied his name. We didn't know that each second is a drop of Christ's blood, and that only he can reign over the interval, over the infinite mysticism of the fragment. Only he can reign over time with his incandescent omnipotence, and we were unable to see it. And now he is enraged, and we're to blame. That's what we did.
I still don't understand what it is we did.
Each cycle is a fluorescent gust of God's will, don't you see? Can't you see it? He reigns over the days and the hours from the inscrutable luminescence of his dwelling place. And we are just instants that slip through his fingers. Time is his, and his alone. We tried to wrest it from him. That's what we did.
Это, кстати, первая игра, которая вот, ну, у меня так все гладко идет. Так, о каком знамении вы говорите? Скажите, что именно, на что именно способны Фу, блин, что я читаю? Скажите, что именно мы еще способны предотвратить. Думаю, лучше оставить вас в покое. А почему она так не подсвечивается?
But what is it we did?
Time is the will of God. It is centuries and the celestial.
Это мы читали вроде.
That's
What signs are you?
the dark angels of God clamor madly through the open wound that is bleeding the kingdom of heaven dry. Haven't you heard? They were speaking with a thunderous voice. God is furious. That is his sign.
I suppose in his delirium, the man has mistaken that strange sound coming from the gash in the sky left by the great wave as a sign from the heavens. He's definitely lost his mind.
Please be so kind as to leave us in peace. Can't you see that my brother is very agitated?
I think it's
Ладно,
best that I leave
оставлю
him in
вас в
peace.
покое.
Yes, leave my brother in peace.
There's still time. There's still time. Bring me the head of the lion above the flame.
Голову льва над пламенем. Зачем мне эти... стой. Вот же. Так, ну все, ребята. Я табличку могу забрать?
Well, look at that. Next to this enormous hunk of glass, the color glass. I'd better get rid of him.
Так, у нас есть острый кусок стекла. Наверное, в следующей серии мы продолжим о том, что мы будем там раскапывать. Вот. И так далее. Подписывайтесь на канал, ставьте лайки, зовите друзей. А с вами был Геймплеем. Всем удачи, всем пока.